Okay, you're good. Go for it.
Sounds good. Can
Yeah.
everyone is logged on can see the screen, right? And are you guys seeing my cover page here?
Everybody give a thumbs up if you can do it. See it. Okay, good.
All right, great. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining today. This is the third day, I guess, training day, and there's also many other tracks going on today. So I appreciate those who are able to attend today's section on youth service for District 5000, and also how you can get involved and what we're planning on doing here in the 2020 to 2021 uh, program here. But so my name is Ryan Char. I'm past president of the Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunrise. Naomi Masuno roped me in this year to do the youth service for the district, as I'm sure she's roped many others in to help her. And as Rotary is, we all help each other get things done during the Rotary year. So this is my for those that don't know me. Hopefully, many of you do know me. This is a little bit about me. Um, so today, please feel free to chime in on the chat, like Benson said. But I'm going to go through this, hopefully not too quickly, because actually the sessions aren't super long today. They're only 45 minutes, and so I do want to maybe leave some time at the end for some open discussion. But a little bit else additional about me, my past with youth service here. I am an advisor for the Roosevelt High School Interact Club. I also advise the Mid-Pacific Institute Interact Club. I have been our club's youth service chair probably for the last 5 years. And for those that don't know, I also am a past HRYF scholarship recipient of the district and of the Honolulu Sunrise Club. And that's kind of my Rotary story. That is how I ended up in Honolulu Sunrise Rotary, because I reconnected with some Rotarians, and the rest is kind of history here. So I think that's some of the background that I bring here to the Youth Service Committee. That is me many years ago. Down there highlighted at the bottom left, and there I am there in the highlighted Honolulu Sunrise category in 2003. So I like to share this for those that don't really know me, but I'm a past recipient. Today, I just wanted to go through a couple of things really, and I don't want to make this super just reading out things. I wanted to try to make it a little bit more interactive there. So please add, like I said, add into the chat anything or any thoughts you have about any of these ideas, because like you, I'm kind of trying to find good ideas for youth service this year, and I have some already. But I also, at the same time, my job as the youth service chair for the district is really to support the various clubs, support the youth service chairs that I assume are on this call, support the presidents, as well as direct some district-wide youth initiatives. So that's why today, as part of our agenda, I'm looking here at talking a little bit about different club activities or outreach ideas that you guys as club members and club leaders can do for your clubs. Giving some ideas and suggestions to help each club engage with their Interact clubs and their Rotaract clubs if they have one. If they don't have one, maybe good ways to get connected with one. Some ideas and some suggestions to participate in RILA. And for those that don't know, we'll go a little bit into detail about what RILA is, but RILA is our Rotary Youth Leadership Awards program. Working on Rotary 101 messaging. So what that means is, in terms of youth, is how do we spread the word about what Rotary is to our youth? And I think many of you who work with youth in Rotary probably realize that our youth don't really know us very well. We try our hardest to tell them what Rotary does. We invite them to projects. We interact with them a lot, but at the same time, when it's like, well, what do you know about Rotary? Or when you're doing your scholarship interviews for HRYF, it's, what do you know about Rotary? And many of them don't know much. And so part of what Naomi has asked me to do is to help clubs spread the word about Rotary to our youth. And I think what, one of my overarching goals this year is to help provide a continuum of services to our Interact clubs and have them do good work, and then have them transition to Rotaract clubs, which is our college-based clubs, and then finally make our jump into Rotary clubs, which is where we all are in. And I think this, partners very well with membership.
Join the meeting.
And very well with community service. And so that's why I'm really excited about what we can do this year. I'll also talk a little bit about partnerships with other organizations. Rotary does have some partnerships with some very large organizations that I'll get into. And then at the very end here, we'll talk a little bit about youth service protection and management, risk management for everyone here, because working with our youth does require a very high level of scrutiny and protection, as always. And so we'll go over some of the requirements that are needed to do so, and make sure that everyone here has the right support they need to make sure that our youth are protected during these times. So with that, this is the Youth Service Committee. Formerly the New Generations Committee. What I do is I look over our Interact programs district-wide, our Rotaract programs district-wide, as well as our Early Act. And I hope folks know what our Early Act program is. I'll have a slide on that as well, but it is for very younger than Interact people, and in the elementary school program that we actually could do work with through Early Act programs. We also cover RILA, which I talked about, our Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, and our Rotary Youth Exchange programs. From a committee standpoint and a committee perspective, we really believe in investing in our future youth by empowering young leaders, helping them learn leadership skills, and giving them opportunities to have cross-cultural experiences. It's kind of our goal and our vision. Right now, my committee is made up of several of you who are on the call and several who aren't. I'm sure it started off with as the our Interact and Rotaract committee, and was working through some potential activities for our Interact and Rotaract this spring until everything kind of got put on hold. We were looking at doing a joint project, and some of you might have heard my emails going out from the district about trying to get a joint project between Rotary clubs and our Interact clubs and Rotaract clubs. And we were also working on an Interact conference, a statewide Interact conference, kind of tied to our 2020 International Convention that was coming here. But obviously things have changed, we adapt, and we move forward. So that is the kind of the agenda today. I'll just kind of jump right into what I'd like to share with all of you, and hopefully you find this as a resource to help with youth service this year. In terms of club activities and outreach ideas, my goal is to help each of the clubs work with these youth to increase our impact and become people of action. That's been Rotary's motto. I don't think anyone here has any disagreements with that. We all really want to find a way to help youth around the state of Hawaii. I hope that many of your clubs and many of the people here are your youth service committee chairpersons in your clubs, because really what working with youth requires is finding a champion. And I've kind of been our champion for our club for the last 5 years, like I mentioned. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. And that's what I wanted to share, going into this. I attend our Interact meetings, well, before when they were in school, I was attending them almost weekly. I also worked very closely with the rest of my committee in our club to do different projects throughout the year, which were happening at least monthly, particularly with our reading programs. And so it does take a lot of effort. It does seem to take a lot of more effort than I think many think. And so that's why my first point here is always to find a champion. Find someone who really is passionate about youth. And I think all of us here, being in this presentation right now, are very passionate about serving youth. And so that's great to hear. And hopefully you learned something from this presentation. Like I was talking about earlier, though, do some joint service projects. Make sure you're inviting your Interact clubs, your Rotaract clubs to your projects at least. But why not partner Interact clubs between each other? Or why not partner Rotaract clubs between each other? One of my suggestions this year to Naomi and folks was to let's do bigger projects that have bigger impact. Not that our projects don't have big impact, it's just that let's join forces with other clubs and other groups in the district and try to get as many people out as possible. And so, as I mentioned, we were working on trying to get projects done in this spring that were, focused on areas and working on projects that had, 100 volunteers or so for Rotarians at Work Day. So think about that. I think it's always fun when the kids also have a chance to interact with other students from other schools. And so that is one idea. There's obviously the general programs that many of our clubs do, as well as dictionaries, donations, and reading to students. Some other ideas of projects that we could do include, vocational training and mentoring. I know a lot of our students are very interested in what type of job market they're going to face in the future and what they can do to get ready for that. They're also going off to college, and many of them want to know what college means to them and what it should mean to them and how they can be best prepared. And so that's where I find some of my time goes as well in my club. And a couple of my Interact clubs have been very interested in supporting the environment and sustainability. That seems to be a youth service trend. There is an eco club in Kaka'ako. It just seems to be something that's very important to the generation. It's important to everyone, obviously, but it's something very near and dear to our youth's heart. And so I think that's one area where we can partner with them. And they've also talked a lot about either elder care, so working with senior homes to make sure that there's enough support there, as well as mentoring youth as well for them. So how can they do something like a Big Brothers, Big Sisters program? And so those are some ideas of causes that the district can help connect you with this year. If there's anything else, I'm more than happy to entertain ideas. And obviously, there's the Hawaii Rotary Youth Foundation, and making sure that your clubs are a part of that. Hawaii Rotary Youth Foundation, for those that don't know, I'm sure hopefully many of you do know, is a nonprofit organization that is providing scholarship opportunities for graduating high school seniors in the state. Founded by Sully Sullivan. It is an affiliate organization to Rotary, and the foundation does spearhead and fund many scholarships every year. This year, it's been about 50 scholarships based off of the number of clubs. Each club gets one scholarship. But I just found this figure from Naomi. Since inception, HRYF has given out nearly $7 million in scholarship funds and over 1,800 scholarships, of which I had a small little take out of that, which I'm very grateful for. But it's a lot of money. It is a lot of money, and it helps the students quite a bit. And if I could just request that all of your clubs make sure to support and participate in this program. It is one of, I think, the best way to get scholarship monies into the hands of students that need it. And so I can tell you personally from my firsthand experience that it was very helpful for me to attend a school that I really wanted to go to. And so it makes a big difference. What I would suggest, though, is always just follow up with your students that do get scholarships from your club through this HRYF project, because that is how I got looped back into Rotary in my career. And so make sure that you guys are participating in HRYF, please, because it's money to give directly to students, but at the same time, I think it's also a way to connect and keep connected with youth and bring youth back into the fold with Rotary. So really, I want everyone here to please chime in on the chat. what other ideas do you have this year in ways we could support you as club members, you as youth service chairs, you as club presidents, to help our youth, or what areas do you feel the district should be supporting district-wide in youth service initiative? Is it still literacy? It'll continue to be literacy, but is it still literacy? Is it the environment? Is it elder care? Is it youth care? Is it mentoring and vocational services? Please feel free to chime in the chat for that.
Hey, Ryan, we have a question from Lynn.
Sure.
Lynn, go ahead. I unmuted your mic.
No, I don't have a question. Sorry.
Okay.
I raised my hand by mistake. Sorry.
Yeah. When you hit the thing that raises your hand, then it lets me know that you have a question. Okay. Hey, no problem. Nice job. Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No problem. This year, I also really want to focus in on helping our clubs engage their Interact clubs and their Rotaract clubs, because this is our direct connection to youth, at least within the middle to high school to college range. So I'm going to go through a couple of things kind of first, and then we'll talk about Interact and Rotaract here. But one thing every club needs to do is update your club information annually into your club administration account on My Rotary or Rotary.org. If you do not update which clubs you sponsor in terms of your Interact and Rotaract clubs, they may be suspended. So please, if you have any questions about this, you can always ask me, but you do have to fill in your club information annually on Rotary.org. For working with clubs this year, one of my goals is to help our Rotary clubs have a yearly schedule of events that can help keep their clubs engaged. And so one is making sure that you have the right officers at your clubs in terms of the students, attending your club meetings, inviting them to join our fall assembly, which right now we are in our spring assembly, and I did not even do that for my own presentation. I did not invite my club, so that's why it's critically important that we do this. But inviting our Interact clubs to our fall assembly, and maybe even having a separate track for our youth in our assemblies. Doing joint projects with clubs, making sure that they participate in RILA and HRYF during the school year, and attending our spring assemblies. And so I hope that, if we can do these things as kind of a guideline, we can really start to re-engage a lot of our Interact clubs and Rotaract clubs. What has happened recently is that some Interact clubs have become inactive, ones that have been fairly active. And so we will be working with the Department of Education, working with our partners at each of the schools to help to bring these clubs back in here to the forefront.
Hey, Ryan, I got a question from Gwen Picaro.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Gwen. You can unmute yourself, or I can unmute you. Let's see.
Oh, Vincent, no, this is a question.
Oh, Gary. Okay.
Hey, Ryan, I love the work that you're doing. It's been resonating with a lot of stuff that I think about in terms of youth, especially at the high school level, and especially in the kind of work that I do. But here's my question to you. Last time that I went to an assembly, it might have been either last year or the year before last, we had asked about that updated list that you were talking about, and what Interact clubs are at specific high schools.
Mm-hmm.
We're with Metro, and I don't want to cross over to anybody else's Juliana.
Mm-hmm.
Like here you are, you're working with Roosevelt and Midpack, which is cool. You got two that you commit your time to, and I think that's awesome. But how are we to know that we are not crossing over to somebody else's? Or how many Rotaract clubs are there in one school? or you know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
So what we've had to do is go all the way up. We found a club that we can work with, or we're the only club, organization there that that's putting on an Interact, and that's over all the way out in Kapolei Charter School, which is a small school. Is it convenient for us from Metro to go all the way up to Kapolei? Probably not, but that was, I don't feel like I want to cross over into somebody's path, because I'd rather be at Farrington, McKinley, or whatever. But without having an updated list on who's where, you kind of feel apprehensive in doing that.
Good question. Great question.
I would second that.
Great question.
Because that was actually going to be one of my questions related to that, because last year I had reason to try and figure out what youth program services we had connected to various high schools, because Rotary Club of Honolulu, my club, we have a speech contest for high school kids. And so I was trying to find ways to bring that to more people. And I, for the life of me, could not figure out. I asked people, I looked online, where do we have Interact clubs? Who's doing what? Nobody knew.
Yep.
I know, and Naomi has.
Well, I figured
has
that
known
out.
too. Yes, we do. We do have an updated list. It's based off of folks updating their club information annually, and so while my list is incomplete, I do have a list, and I will be happy to share that with folks on the call here. And please, there's a contact page for me later on. If you have those questions, put them in the chat, and I'll get back to you with that information. It's not completely 100% accurate, up to date, because folks need to enter that information, but I will be that conduit for folks this year to join, to find out that information that is happening district-wide. Also, at the same time, I want to say that multiple clubs can sponsor one Interact club or Rotaract club. You don't have to be so territorial, maybe, I guess is the question, is this way I would put it. Definitely there are ways to partner, and I believe Metro is partnering with Hickam Pearl Harbor on one of our newest Interact clubs at Dole. I thought you were. No?
No, I think they are now, the person that was with Hickam is no longer there.
Okay.
And I think Aries is only the person that's working with, and that's a Interact club.
Interact club.
I guess we wouldn't call that Interact, more than that would be, and it's not an early act. What's in between early and inner?
It's Interact.
It's just like the intermediate guys.
Yeah.
Which she's doing a great job. She's absolutely doing a fabulous job.
Yeah, we're doing it now with Josh. Josh is stepping up. So it's just our latest right now. We're looking for an advisor there. So Alan, just please confirm Josh is still with us, right?
No, his name is Alan Kamemoto.
Alan, good job.
Ryan, here's another question. Ryan,
yes.
Is it, so what you're saying is, I mean, because I think it's also possibly the school has to know that there are multiple. Is it possible that you're saying that it's possible to have multiple clubs at one school? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying it's multiple Rotary clubs
supporting
a Interact club at one of the schools. And so I kind of brought up the Interact because there's a lot of questions here now about Interact. I brought up the Interact club slide here. It can be up to 12 to 18, so that does include middle school ages. So you can have an Interact club at a middle school. They can also be community-based, which is more like a Rotaract club type of such situation, but the Interact clubs also can be community-based. I believe we actually have a couple here in the district. But this is the age group that Interact targets. And so you can have multiple Rotary clubs sponsoring one Interact club. And I would suggest that that's the best way to work through this. I think having multiple clubs at a single DOE high school or a private school is probably too much. But I will be that conduit that connects our Rotary clubs to figure out where do we need some support, where do we need help, and if one club needs help from another Rotary club, then let's find a way to partner you guys together. Because I feel like we need to shed that idea of territorialism, I guess, in our clubs, and I could always use help at my clubs for sure. And so I think that the more we work together and make this less about like who's taking credit for that support, I think the better chance we have to support youth in our state. So I want to do that. I want to make that a part of this year, and I will. So I do want to. And it's going quickly, so I do want to try to get through all these.
Yeah. So guys, let's let Ryan get through his presentation, and then we'll save the discussion for afterwards. So go ahead.
I think we'll have some time here, but I
I
want to go through this. Yeah. So just a couple of the other ideas that were being thrown out there, and we were very close to this year, was doing our Interact and Rotaract conference, which was an island-wide or statewide system, and there was a council attached to that. We were very close, but alas, we did not get there. We will try to get there this year. There are citations, just like there are citations for Rotary clubs, there are citations for our Interact clubs and our Rotaract clubs. And I know everyone here, citations are not what we do. We do not go for awards. What I like to show this is because it helps clubs plan out their year for their Interact and Rotaract clubs. Because if you can do a few of these actions, you're helping the community. It's not that you're going for the citation, you're actually helping the community do some of these things. And so it's always a great guide to help plan what your Interact club or your Rotaract club might want to do this year. And it's a good resource. This is from 2019-20. Once the 2020 and 21 comes, I will share that. I did want folks in the chat to please add in what they feel like their challenges facing youth are in this day and age with social media, cyberbullying, whatever. I also am very interested to understand what folks feel are their barriers between Rotary clubs engaging with their youth clubs, because sometimes it does feel like there can be quite a disconnect between what the Rotary Club wants to do to try to help youth and what the youth feel like they need help with. And so please think about this question and add it into the chat. I talked a little bit about Interact just now. Let me talk a little bit about Rotaract. Rotaract clubs are from ages 18 to 30, but if you'll see down here a few bullet points later, actually this year, they just eliminated the upper limit for Rotaract clubs. So I can go back and join a Rotaract club. No, I'm not going to do that. But there is now no upper limit to Rotaract clubs in terms of age. So one, it can be university-based. We always thought if it's university-based, well, then you're an age limit, right? But no, there's also community-based Rotaract clubs that can be provided. They are now a new membership type within Rotary. That was part of this current change in the way that the bylaws work with Rotaract. So your Rotaract clubs, like I said, they can be anywhere from 18 to whatever age, are now a different it's a membership type within Rotary. So they're not Rotarians, but they are a member of Rotary. They can also establish a new Rotary club without a sponsor. So if your Rotaract club was very active and they all kind of start to age up a little bit and they want to start a new Rotary club, they could do it. So it is a great way to have new members come into Rotary, new clubs be established in Rotary. Rotaract is the way to do it. And we, as a district, need to focus more on our Rotaract clubs, because right now we have a couple of great ones. I think there are about 7. Metro has one. I believe Honolulu has one. They're at Chaminade, HPU, and UH. And there are a couple of downtown community-based ones. We need to continue that work. We need to expand that work because this is clearly what Rotary International is using to drive up membership in Rotary as a whole. And I agree with the concept as well. In many other regions in the world, Rotaract is a very, very popular thing. I was when I went to the international conference, one club in Alabama has over 600 members in their one Rotaract club. And so we need to find a way to get there, and we can. It's going to take time, but we'll get there. They do have to pay dues, but like I said, they can become Rotarians basically at any times too. We talked a little bit about Interact here. What I will be working on this year is trying to make our Interact clubs supported by the Department of Education. And that is always the hardest part. You heard about lacking some DOE advisors for specific clubs. And that's probably one of the biggest hiccups to getting our clubs going, is that we always, on our Rotary side, we have the manpower and the resources to help them. But what happens is the DOE doesn't have the advisor or the support on the DOE side. And so I will be working with DOE advisors and DOE superintendents to help try to find advisors for each club that need advisors and good advisors. And I've been lucky that both MidPAC and Roosevelt have great advisors there. And so that's always a key to the success of our Interact clubs. There are various things that happen as part of our Interact clubs that we can always do, like participate in Global Youth Service Day. I don't want to make this too cumbersome for our clubs. Let's try to get them to start off slow. We'll get them to participate in some of the joint projects with our Rotary clubs so they can fulfill some of their community service requirements. And then from there, I will start to let folks know that there are other opportunities to partnership with them, with like World Interact Week and Global Youth Service Day, which are both opportunities for service that come up in during the school year. And then, like I said, we do have an Early Act program. This is a District 5000 program. It is not a formal RI program. But what it does is it allows Rotarians to work with elementary students aged 5 to 13. I think the key here, though, is that it provides young students and their families the opportunity for gaining increased awareness of their knowledge of their communities and their worlds. And it focuses on what the benefit of community service is to the self and to the family structure. And so we do have this program, and if anybody is interested in it, I'd be more than happy to give you more information on Early Act. We don't have a lot of them, but we do have them. So so one of my next questions here is like, how do you want to be involved here on this call? And I know that some folks are past youth service chairs or current youth service chairs or presidents, but this is where that question comes up: is where can I form partnerships with existing Interact clubs, or where can I start new Interact clubs? And I definitely can help share some of that information here.
So Ryan, what I wanted to do is, there's a lot of comments and questions in the chat. So
sure,
we got about 15 minutes left. So how about I start?
I'll finish here up in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll finish up in like 5 minutes because it's that was the bigger slides.
Okay. All right. Great. Go for it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Participate in RILA. We talked about RILA every year. It's a leadership development program. Find students, sponsor it, volunteer. I think most of you guys are very, very good about RILA. But you know what RILA does is it helps strengthen our Interact clubs, and from our Interact clubs, they go to our Rotaract clubs. And so I really, really want to find a way to make sure that we provide continuity of service from high school all the way through college and into adulthood here. Rotary 101 messaging, I'll talk very briefly about it. I want to share the brand of Rotary with our youth. And so one interesting comment that came up through previous discussion was using our Rotary meeting format with our Interact clubs, our Rotaract clubs, and any of our youth clubs. And so I think I'd be happy to help with this. I've also talked about essay contests before with my club. I think it's a great way to help your youth know what Rotary is. This is an excerpt from an essay that someone wrote for our club, and I'll share. Hopefully, Benson, I can share this presentation because it's really, really fun to hear what they wrote about Rotary International for my club. Partnerships and programs. This is some information here about the Rotary Youth Exchanges, of which we haven't done a bunch of them, but it is still a program that is available to you. And one of the partnerships I want to talk about real quick was that Rotary International just partnered with Toastmasters. And I think Toastmasters is a great way for our younger students to get training and development in public speaking and organizing their thoughts. And I will be looking for ways to bring Toastmasters into the schools. And that is, there's a whole thinking and strategy behind that. It's still very nascent not a lot of information yet, but please be on the lookout for that. And there are continuing scholarships that RI provides. We haven't really been super active in some of the international scholarships. One that I found interesting was that, for our global grants, you can actually go get a scholarship to study a graduate level program. And that's through our global grants through Rotary International. And so I think there's ways that we could work on providing scholarships and introducing partnerships into our youth service programs. The last thing I want to talk about here, youth protection. I don't know who the current, I know the current youth protection officer is Lori. I don't know if she's agreed to stay on yet. We'll figure out who that is. But there is a youth protection guide on RI's website, myrotary.org. Please check that resource, because it's a lot of good information to make sure that we protect our youth, have risk management plans in place. The district, for any volunteer that is working with youth, the district has a volunteer affidavit and background check that must be done. This is the affidavit. It is available on the district website. It consists of a background check and a small fee. Please ask your clubs to pay for that fee. It is important that we go through and do these affidavits, because this is one way that we do make sure that youth are protected. And the last thing I want to say about youth protection and management was that making sure that we follow the school's requirements. I'm sure many of you are aware of the Mid-Pacific Institute's situation with them this year, and that really kind of shut down their outside activities. I've had first-hand experience dealing with them, so I know what they go through. I will be working with each of the clubs through the district level to make sure that we comply with these different procedures from both the DOE and the individual schools. So with that, safety first as always, but that's, what's next. And that's why you guys are here. I'd be happy to, Benson, open up any questions.
Well, let me just kind of scroll down through the chat. Rick Tabor had a couple of comments and had a question about any suggestions about promoting RILA, because he says seems like every year we try to scramble to find people to attend.
Always a scramble.
Any
scramble.
suggestions?
What I would suggest first and foremost is that your club's budget to send students to RILA, and a lot of clubs do that. The hard part is always the cost. And so a lot of the students that I do ask, they're like, well, how much does it cost? And it's not small. And for some of the students to go, it does take a financial burden for them. So as much as our clubs can help sponsor students to RILA, we need to be doing that.
If you don't mind, let me just chime in real quick. It wasn't the cost that was the issue. We left money on the table. The issue is finding the kids. So yeah. And I'm very active, and folks that know me, I'm very spirited. I'm out there in all the places, even have family that's connected. It was a lot of work to get kids, and we still did not even reach the numbers that we needed to reach, and we left money on the table.
Sure.
It's more about how do we get the clubs to get active, or how do we get the community to be more active to get the kids. This is my second year doing RILA, and Josh and I are co-chairs for next year, and we want to start much earlier. I even have an article, a Generations article. There's a lot we can do. COVID has slowed us down considerably, but it comes down to the end. I know Gary and Brian, there's different people that are on the committee that are here in this. We have a very hard time getting the kids. We have great kids when we get there. It's just a whole lot of work goes into, and even at the last minute, and Alan's on this also, it's a ton of work to get the kids. How do we do better at getting the kids? This is a great camp. We offer a lot. The Rotary offers a lot to you. It's more about how do we get the kids engaged, and you've given some ideas if you've gone long here, but I'm concerned, going forward. And then I'm also concerned with COVID-19 and where we're at, but that's a later question.
Right
now.
No, I don't mean to say that money is always the problem, but it does come up, and so I wanted to make sure everyone here on the call makes sure to support RILA financially. What happened for me this year was that we filled our Roosevelt spots, we filled our Mid-Pacific spots. HBA needed some spots, and it didn't seem like it was clear to me where the money would come from for those students. And then once I was able to reach out to Jeff and folks, we were able to get money sponsorships for them. So yes, money is available, definitely. It's about making sure that folks are partnered already with their internet clubs. and spreading the word with their Interact clubs, because if they're not spreading the word with their Interact clubs, then no one really knows about the program. I went through HBA, McKinley, Mid-Pacific, and Roosevelt students to try to get them to attend this year's camp. And I was successful in some and wasn't in others, but that's just me. And I can't go to every club in the state to make sure that they do that. So I will be working this year, Rick, with the assistant governors to be more connected with each president, so they are asking their Interact clubs to provide that information. We also need to make sure that that information goes out to the same counselors that receive the HRYF information, because to me, it's a very easy and similar way we can spread the word about HRYF and RILA kind of at the same time, because both function as youth support that the counselors can work with their schools to get people to apply for.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. But it also felt like the counselors that I was in touch with anyway got so busy with just the regular school kind of stuff. They didn't have time to put it on the back burner. They weren't so motivated, to do it. They liked the idea, but actually getting the kids became an issue. And I could go on. We can talk more about it later, though. I don't want to take up all the time.
We can talk more about it later, but what I thought was helpful in my Interact club, actually, just so I can say this, was that Roosevelt always sends at least 4 or 5 a year. The 4 that go love it. They absolutely love the program, and they share that with their peers, and their peers want to go now. And that's what we need to build up. We need to build that momentum.
Yeah, the kids that come, they have a great time. We have a great time with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful program.
We need to use them as salespersons for the next year. So that's what we will do.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Let me make a comment real quick about that. I'm gonna have to wind it up. I know Gail is on this call, and Gail is like the mother of Ryla on Hawaii Island. And what we learned from her is that she started going out into robotics clubs where she had relationships with people in there. And so then we started going to ROTC guys, football coaches, any group that wants leadership, Civil Air Patrol, we have a lot of guys from there. So my suggestion would be to go out and get these alliances with groups that are already working with kids, and then have their kids come as a group, because every group out there that's working with kids wants leadership training. And that's helped our pilots always. I mean, it comes out to the last second, but they're always pretty full. So that would be one suggestion.
May I also share? This is Gail Takaki. I want to also share that a Rotary Club president sending a message to the Interact advisor helps. Sending one to the principal never gets very far. It takes a lot of effort to build face-to-face relationships within a school, and it's not always the counselor. Sometimes you have to go to the PCNC, because inherent with their part-time work is to have student and families active within the school opportunities. No doubt, RILA gives them such a tremendous leadership learning. I check in with kids who've been who came to RILA 10 years ago, and they can still speak very clearly about the lessons that have impacted them. So what we have is world class. What we don't have is the time, or making the time to find individuals that really care about their kids, and will find them. So it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of networking, but it's well worth it. Thank you.
Hey guys, unfortunately, we're at the end of our time. We're going to give you the closing remark, and then I'm going to stop the recording. We're going to clear the room. We have a community service, so if you're here for community service, you can just hang tight, and if you're not, you can go to your next session. Go ahead, Ryan. I'll give you about 1 minute to wind.
No, I appreciate everyone's. It's clear to me from working with everyone here and other conversations I've had that we're very passionate about serving our youth. I really look forward to this year and trying to figure out ways to increase that activity, increase those partnerships, because it's all built on relationships with your area supervisors, with your advisors, with your school principals. We can start forming those relationships and building on those relationships, and for those that already have good relationships, great. I'm happy to help you maintain them. My email address, if you guys want to know, is ryanc@g70 Ryan.design. Ryan C at G70.design. Please feel free to email me with any support that you need throughout the year. I am, this is my first year on the district leadership team, so I'm looking forward to stepping up to that role. But at the same time, I look to those that do have a lot of experience and do have a lot of history working with youth. I think we can really work together to try to find a way to build better connections this year through that level of experience. So thank you. That's all I really had today.
Okay, yeah, Ryan, go ahead and put your address in the chat.
Yep.
If you had a question that wasn't answered, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll print it up and send it over to Ryan, and maybe he can email you back with a response. But otherwise, thanks a lot, everybody. I'm gonna
Thank you.
down. We're gonna take about a 2-minute break, and we're gonna start up with community service in about 2 minutes. So thanks a lot for joining us today.
Hey, Jay Satinstein.